Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open one of the most powerful books ever written, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're going to unpack the timeless secrets to truly mastering the art of dealing with people.
So what if I told you that the single biggest factor in your financial success, it has almost nothing to do with your technical knowledge? Yeah, you heard that right. Decades ago, research uncovered something pretty shocking about what really drives success.
Get this, a massive 85% of your financial success comes down to just one thing, your skill in what they called human engineering. Basically, it's not about what you know, it's about your ability to genuinely connect with, lead, and inspire other people.
In fact, the famous industrialist John D. Rockefeller once said he would pay more for this one ability than for any other under the sun. So, let's break down the 3 fundamental principles for developing this priceless skill. All right, our first principle. This one reveals why our natural instinct to correct and criticize people, why it so often backfires. Just spectacularly. You see, when we criticize someone, we don't actually create lasting change. All we do is create resentment. And that's because we're not dealing with creatures of logic, are we? Nope. We're dealing with creatures of pure emotion, driven by pride and vanity. And there's a story about a notorious criminal that illustrates this point perfectly.
These are the actual words of a guy named Two-Gun Crowley, a notorious cop killer. He wrote this in a letter while 150 police officers were laying siege to his hideout, their machine guns literally rattling the windows.
Think about that. Even on his way to the electric chair, he didn't blame himself for a single thing. So here's the crucial point. If a cold-blooded killer can find a way to justify his horrific actions, what about the regular people you and I meet every day? They're no different.
Carnegie said that criticisms are like homing pigeons. They always return home. So the very first key to influencing people is to just stop launching those pigeons in the first place.
Okay, so if criticism is a dead end, what's the alternative? Well, this next principle is the secret that made industrialist Charles Schwab one of the first million-dollar-a-year men. And this was back when $50 a week was considered a pretty good wage. Now, the key word here isn't wish, and it isn't desire. It's craving. It's this deep, gnawing human hunger that is honestly very rarely satisfied. And we have to be super clear about the distinction you see here. We are not talking about cheap flattery. Flattery is just counterfeit praise. It's shallow, it's selfish, and you know what? Most people can spot it a mile away. We're talking about honest, sincere appreciation. Andrew Carnegie paid Schwab that massive salary not because he knew a lot about steel, but because, in Schwab's own words, he was anxious to praise and loath to find fault. He built people up instead of tearing them down. The person who can honestly satisfy this deep human craving for importance and for recognition, that person will hold people in the very palm of their hand. All right, our third and final principle is the one that ties this whole philosophy together. It's the secret to getting people to do things willingly without creating any of that resentment we talked about.
I mean, the answer seems completely obvious when you put it like that, doesn't it? But Carnegie argued that 90% of people get this totally wrong every single day when they're dealing with other humans.
You might love strawberries and cream, but for some strange reason, fish prefer worms. So when you go fishing, you think about what they want. It's just absurd to talk about what we want when we're trying to persuade someone. So here it is, the fundamental secret. Every single action we take springs from something we desire. So, to get someone to do something, you first have to make them want to do it. And the only way to do that is to see the world from their perspective and then line up your goal with their desires. This is it. This is the only way to move people to action willingly. The person who can do this has the whole world with them. The person who can't, well, they walk a very lonely way.
Now, it's really important to get this. These 3 principles aren't just some clever tricks for manipulating people. They're the foundation for a new, a more authentic, and a much more effective way of interacting with everyone in your life.
So let's just run through the 3 keys one more time. First, don't criticize. It just makes people defensive. Second, give honest appreciation. It satisfies that deep human need to feel important. And third, arouse an eager want. Always think in terms of what the other person desires. They're simple principles, but applying them every day can literally revolutionize your life.
Look, this explainer isn't just about knowing these principles. It's about putting them into practice. True learning only happens when you apply it, starting the very moment this ends.
So think about it. What's one difficult conversation you need to have? Or one person you want to influence? Try applying these principles. The power to transform your relationships and your success is, right now, in your hands. The only question is, how are you going to use it?